I am Dr. T.P. Shashikumar, retired space scientist. Welcome to the study of the subject geography, focused towards prelims examination, civil service UPSC. We have given a small brief about geomorphology, but have not gone into the detailed interior Earth. Now this bit is on the interior of Earth, or the internal structure of Earth. In a study, there are many compositions of Earth which is to be discussed, which will be more of chemistry, little bit of physics, and too less of geography. The Earth has got a radius, no. Semi-major axis, semi-minor axis, very difficult to define because it's neither an ellipsoid nor a spheroid, it's geoid. But for mathematical purpose, for explanation, we have to consider is approximately 6,200 kilometers deep. That means the radius of the sphere is 6,200 kilometers. So the deep inside, which is called the core, is fully metallic, and then we have this part of maybe 2,000 kilometers, 1/3 of Earth, as equivalent to a solid liquid mix, and then we have up to a 700 kilometer deep from the surface. That means approximately 5,000 kilometer, 2,000 or 3,000 kilometer to the 1,000 kilometer. A dense oxide of magnesium and silicon. Silicon is almost like our very common whitish fluid structure sort of a thing, which is burning actually all the time. That's why I said we must know a little bit of chemistry to understand, because a lot of chemical terminologies will come in this. That part, and after that we have a solid structure, which is the density is increased rapidly from a liquid stage to a solid stage, and we have the upper layer and the crust. So the composition of Earth can be dealt as a barysphere, mesosphere, and lithosphere. Technically, these are the terminologies which is to be understood. That means from core to the inner core and to the surface. We will discuss about the mountains and hills and plateaus and etc. on the surface of the Earth little later. Now we are only discussing about the interior. The purpose of understanding interior is to understand what happens inside the Earth will determine what will happen on the surface or the evolution of Earth. The interior of Earth will tell you how the chemistry happens inside, the density inside, the pressure inside, the temperature inside. So why do we learn about little bit the digest of the Earth interior? To understand the components like density, pressure, temperature, and what comes out generally the seismic meteoroids study, or the seismic study, or the volcanicity study, the chemical compounds of the Earth, which will determine us, or which will give some sight on how it comes out and affects the surface of the Earth. Due to this high metallic and volcanoic inside the Earth, which is liquid and solid mixture with high temperature, definitely there is a charge potential difference, the positive charge in one side and the negative charge in the other side. There is a potential, and because of the compounds always into reactions, there is a tendency to get into a charged particle effect, and that is one of the reasons which we have the North Pole and South Pole effect. The two charges gets settled in two different portions of the earth, which results into the magnetic effect. That's where I said the chemistry and the little bit of physics becomes part of the discussions here. The rocks which are formed, the crust which are formed, and the platforms, the shields, the rock shields which we have, the thick rock which we have, and the style of the rocks which is formed, and all that can be learned or discussed further when we go into the detail. Okay, so these are the normal structure which makes the sheets, maybe granite sheet we have, or sedimentary sheet we have, or we have the mud, or we have different colors, different type of soil on the floor of the earth, which we are going to learn in detail when we learn about geography. But the basic geographical content, before learning, we must understand why is it happening. Okay, the content of the rocks and the crust, the weight, the density, the pressure, and the temperature, which is determined by the chemistry which it has got. That is why it has got the study of lithosphere, which is slightly involved chemistry, which we will not talk. But mostly we have the calcium content and gypsum content, and that is why some mountains, the big mountains which you see whitish in color, which is full of gypsum, and the content of that can be used for making products. So later when we study about the economics, why such a material is available there, and that is why we are able to produce such a output from that. That is why we are able to get such a product. So when we learn about economics, this is the content of the earth which we have, therefore this cultivation is possible, and therefore this product can be generated there. Such a study on the economics and agriculture also depends on the interior of the earth and up to the surface of the earth, and what sort of temperature we have. All these are related.